We're live. I don't know what happened. Sorry,
Sorry.
technology. But we were wrapping up anyway. So, yeah, the question I was gonna ask you was, uh, um, oh yeah, what would you say is the biggest lesson that you had to learn the hard way? And if you need to take a moment to think about it, then you can. Probably put you on camera again.
And there's a few, so that's really tough. I'm gonna just give you one though. I guess the one I'll go with for now is shoot. There's two that I really want. Can I give two?
Go
Okay,
ahead.
cool.
Yeah.
I think the biggest one for the one I'll use first is that you can't please everybody. Like literally, no matter how hard you try, it just won't work. And the second one is at some point you have to learn how to be like, and I still haven't learned this lesson, so I'm like speaking to myself here, but learning how to not give love to people who really don't deserve it, like giving all of yourself to people who don't deserve it.
Could you elaborate a little bit more on the second one?
Yeah, it's just something that all across the board, especially when it comes to like female relationships, that I've done is like just giving a lot of myself because I'm a very committed person, 110%, and I don't know why I just never really did it in return, and I had to learn the hard way, and still am learning it now. And actually have a lesson, so it doesn't count as like fully learned. But I'm learning that I have to be stingy with it or reserved with it in some senses.
Got you. Would you say that you're more liable to idealize a relationship or idealize a person?
Depends on how you're using idealize.
How would you use it?
As I think idealize and prioritize are similar, but how are you using idealize?
That's really good that you always do that. For me, I would say idealize is to think to kind of okay. If I was to idealize Jamila, I think that she's this, when in reality, she's anything that's lower than this. But I'm convinced that she's this, and I almost like refuse to see her as anything lower than this, even though the reality is that she may be this.
Yeah.
Or if I'm idealizing a relationship, it's not necessarily the person that I think is like this,
but the concept of relationship.
but like whoa, we're just vibing so heavy and everything, and it could be a little bit muddled, but it's like wow, like there's such a great vibe between us that me and this person are this. Our bond. So if our bond was an entity, that's what's up here, as opposed to just you as a person. Like so, you as a person, I see your reality. Me as a person, I see my reality. But then when we come together, our bond is like this. You get what I'm saying? So that's the idealizing of a relationship versus idealizing of the actual person.
Yeah. It's always the person for me. The relationship I'm realistic about. Yeah. But it's like I'm blindsided by people. Everybody. If I really, really like you and I start to spend time with you, like I just get blinded and I don't see like what you're doing wrong in any sense. It's weird, yeah.
Okay. I have one last question. I already said that, but just one more. I'm trying to see how I word it. Okay. which one do you relate to more? Being able to, in a way, get into another person's mind and understand the thought process of how they got to a certain conclusion, understanding certain symbols, and kind of like thinking in a very abstract manner that allows you to then to have the conclusion become clear, or to explore different areas of yourself by getting into different types of like philosophies and going out and just doing things that like looking for yourself by going out and about and just exploring like what other things may be out there, kind of like trying on different hats.
Definitely second option. Yeah.
Trying on different hats.
Doesn't mean I don't do the first, but that's more common for me.
How could you explain that a little bit more?
I think I noticed that like coming here to college, like it was just a lot of exploration. And when I talk about the adventures, you know, when we cut the camera off, like I'm gonna definitely elaborate more and you'll understand why. But a lot of times, like I'm either reading something if you walk into my room, or like I'm researching a concept, or like sitting down and like trying to understand how Buddhists came to this conclusion or a Hindu came to that conclusion, like understanding certain ideals and trying to incorporate them into what I believe, and like understanding what it is that I really do identify with and don't identify with, and searching for what I actually deem as true is like really common in my world. It's like almost on a day-to-day basis, every moment actually. I'm like, do I agree with this? Do I not? Is this true to me? Is it not? That's very common. Yeah.
Got you. Okay. Cool. Well, I feel like I have my answer. Yeah, thank you, Kwami. Because Jamila's very good at this and everything, I want to know first what you think. And I'll write down what I believe that you could be. But
you want me to say what I think he is?
yeah, and then why?
Okay. I mean, okay, I'm just gonna preface this by saying that I guess I've never been profiled, and I was wondering, like, I wonder how to answer, but anyway. But I feel like no one person has every single answer that would fit a single type.
Right.
So with saying that, I feel like not every single thing you said lined up with this, but a majority of what you said, I feel like did line up with the INFJ personality type. Things about your, how you like feel other people's feelings or whatever. Like the guy on the train, or like the car getting towed. Denzel will explain this, like, I'm sure in the future, but if you are an INFJ, then you lead with my third function. So it's kind of like my third weakest or my third strongest, my third strongest function, which is weaker. Anyway, and so like I could think stuff like that, but like I think it all the time. Like, oh, what if I run into a bus today? But it's like I feel like not really grounded on anything, or it's like not as strong as yours. But you actually like your car actually was getting to it. But for me, like, I probably won't get hit by a bus. But like I will go out and see if my car is getting to it, but like it wouldn't be. Like that's the type of stuff that goes through my mind, and it actually happens. Like, oh, let me just make sure there's not a serial killer behind my shower curtain. But there's probably not. So there's that. How you describe feelings as being like happy or sad? That's more, what's the word? Consistent with somebody of your personality. personality type, then like mine, for example. Which like I never really thought about until I learned about personality types. But as I'm learning more, it's like, oh, I guess how I see them is more of like a spectrum than it is like boom boom. Like why wouldn't it be a spectrum?
Yeah.
Another thing, you said that you're not spontaneous. And I feel like I guess the only other type that I would be juggling with is INFP, and I feel like most INFPs would consider themselves very spontaneous people. Or at least to like you answer very quickly. No.
And then he went on to say he's meticulous.
Yeah, no. Ridiculous. Okay. I did think it was interesting that you said that you're not spontaneous, but you are adventurous. And that's actually what I told Denzel. I was like, because he would be thinking he's spontaneous. I'm like, it's like you're not spontaneous. Like, you're adventurous. Like, you can, go in the woods or something, but you need a map to go in the woods. Like, you can't just go, you be like, okay, this is what we need to do when we in the woods. Like a dad, he got his backpack. Let's go. I was like, no, let's go to the woods. Yeah, so I would consider myself spontaneous. And that's all I can remember.
Facts. Y'all be geeking me with that thinking noise that.
Oh, we both do that?
Yeah.
I never noticed that.
What? Okay, so this might be really familiar, but I think that you're INFJ. So that stands for introvert, prefers to experience the texture. Oh, by the way, for those who are watching post stream, that's good. These are the cards from Personality Hacker. Pretty dope. They're gonna be sold for the public and everything. They have like even the different types and stuff like that. It's really cool. But yeah, this was not endorsed by them, but shout out to you, Antonia and Joel. Yeah, so INFJ prefers to experience the texture of the inner world. The inner world is the real world. Too little alone time can have you feeling low energy or dysthymic. You definitely believe that you're an introvert? Yeah. Intuitive.
Oh yeah,
prefers,
that was like a given.
Yeah. Prefers deep insight into what could be through pattern recognition to confirmation of what is through recall and comparison. Pattern recognizing in the realm of the unseen. That seems kind of like whatever, but we're gonna go deeper into that. Feeler prefers personal criteria like individual feelings and or social contracts to impersonal criteria like data and metrics when making decisions. I feel like you're definitely a feeler because all of the decisions that you seem to make are based off of like either personal values or other people's values, as opposed to like, well, this is just what logically like makes sense, or this is just what metrical or whatever. Which doesn't mean you're not logical, but it's like heart over head. Would you agree with that?
I might disagree there, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then that's good that because I can explain that too. But yeah, I'll ask you a little bit more about that as well. There's a reason why I asked about that one. Prefers predicting and preparing for what is coming next to improvising. Prefers outer over inner world organization and inner over outer world freedom.
I agree with that.
All right. So that's your like acronyms, INFJ. But let me find these. So this is, but for every type, like, so most people know the letters like I, N, F, J, and then you'll get some people like, well, my F is a little bit more than my T, so I'm kind of in the middle between INFJ and INTJ, but they don't know that there's like functions, mental processes that are involved with all of them. So for you as an INFJ, your dominant function will be introverted intuition, auxiliary or co-pilot would be extroverted feeling, your tertiary or 10-year-old would be introverted thinking, and then your inferior or last would be extroverted sensing.
Why do they call them 10-year-old and 3-year-old?
Awesome question. So, let's see. All right. Introverted intuition is nicknamed perspectives, or NI. Probing, inquisitive, and insightful. Perspectives watches its own mind form patterns, shifts into others' realities and rehearses the future. So the way that NI perspectives can be explained is that none of these can actually simply be explained because there's so many faces to all of them. But some of the most known faces of perspectives is kind of like metacognition. So the best way that I can explain it, there's two ways that I usually explain it. Think of an elephant with 5 blind men. One blind man's feeling on the foot. It's like, hey, I kind of feel like a foot over here. Another one's feeling on the trunk, like, oh, I kind of feel a trunk here. Other one's feeling on the ear. Another one's feeling on the tail. Together, as they're saying, like, this is what I'm feeling, they're talking about their own experiences. Like, oh, shoot. Together, they come together and they're like, this must be an elephant. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, from different things, they're able to connect the dots and be like, okay, I see what the whole picture is.
Yeah.
Another example would be, so it's all about connecting those things. So from watching your own mind form patterns, you're able to see how other people's minds form patterns as well. That being said, you can be sitting down, and ever since you were a child, presumably, subconsciously, you're a little bit detached from your own perspective, and you'd watch your own mind form patterns in the sense like, okay, right now I'm thinking about the waffle iron, and then so that's thought A, and then that'll go to thought B, where now like you're okay, well the waffle iron, oh that kind of like reminds me of when I was watching this movie where they got burned, and then it's like, oh shoot, and when that person got burned, that reminds me of this, and it just keeps on trailing until you get to like thought G. This is probably like a really bad example, but now you're like, wait a minute, how did I get here to thought G? And you retrace your steps backward to see the whole connection, and until you get to thought A, right back to the waffle iron.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, so now I see how a waffle iron and this person being in the hospital with a 3rd-degree burn and in their child, blah blah, all is connected. From doing that all the time, several things and everything, then you're now able to see how A and G connect, and then you're able to see how it connects in other people's heads. So then when they start having thought A or thought B, you can beat them to thought G, and then they're like, whoa, how did you know that? And then you're like, I don't know, I just knew, because with so much practice on doing it on yourself, you've been able to do it now to other people. And so sometimes it gets to a point where even that becomes like a psychic energy in a way, where now you can already like know, like there's like you're so in tune with the energy that you can already like predict, like, okay, this is what's actually gonna happen somehow. And something like that, you were able to know, like, yo, my car's getting towed. I don't know what it is, but just something felt off. My intuition literally told me that my car is getting towed. I should go check on my car. And so then somehow you go out and you go and do that. And so yeah, like I said, it's a complex function. I have like a whole bunch of videos on that. I'm trying to like keep it like concise. There's so many different faces to it. But do you feel like you relate to that?
Definitely, 110%.
Got you. One of the ways that I said that like I felt like you did was when I asked you what do you ruminate about, you said that you think a lot about song ideas and all of that. A lot of thoughts come to you in the shower. And I actually have a video called Shower Portals. Yeah, and I'm pretty much talking about like how so many things come to me like in the shower. Like when I step in the shower, then it's like I'm stepping into a portal that puts me into my own mind, where I'm able to now understand what's going on in my own head. And then from doing that, so many different insights surface. Next thing you know, I'm on YouTube making a video about several different things. So yeah, there's that.
Damn, that's deep. I want to check that out.
Yeah, sure. I'll send them all to you. And then you also said that you're like very analytical. When I asked you what intuitive meant, you didn't even know what my definition was. But you said like, for you it's like just like a lot of like foresight. You can't even really like explain it. You just know like how this connects to that, and all of a sudden it's like, and you trust it. A lot of people, they'll have that, but then because it's not as strong, they don't really trust it. but you've learned like to like trust it because you've used it all your life and everything. It's like, no, this has led me right most of my time. So I don't really need tangible reasoning right now. I'll get the tangible reasoning later.
Mm-hmm.
Do you relate to that?
I
At
do.
any point that you feel like it's like, let me know. But
No,
it's
my
like,
dad's literally told me that before, so that's what I'm
oh yeah?
Yeah.
How, like, what did he say?
So like he told me that I had something he didn't have, which was intuition, and I at first I didn't understand because I was like 17. So like, oh, how do you mean by that? He was like, well, it's kind of an unexplainable thing, but it's like sometimes you can feel things are about to happen. And he used the word discernment. So he's like relating it back to religion. He's like, it's more a discerning thing. He's noticing me. So yeah, that's why I laughed when he said that.
Yeah, I think that's a gift from God, for real.
Most definitely.
Yeah, and in future conversations, we're going to talk about the links that I believe between discernment and intuition and pretty much all of this stuff.
Oh, so you do tie that together?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I believe that God, personally, I believe that God literally wired our minds this way for a reason. And that's where my coaching usually like stems from. Like, why did God wire you in this way? And what is your purpose from that? Second thing, co-pilot, FE, also known as harmony or extroverted feeling. Skillful at reading the emotions of others, harmony focuses on getting needs met to keep individual and group morale high. Its ultimate ideal is altruism. So this is your co-pilot, and it's usually like your place of growth. Because people of your type, if INFJ fits you, like as we're saying, like by the end and everything, people of your type, they tend to be like, your co-pilot, you usually have like, have it as like a one-trick pony kind of thing. Like it's okay, like this is really good, like but you're not like as skilled in it as you are with the first one because it's the opposite attitude. Attitude is in like this is introverted, this is extroverted, and so you like to spend more time in your introverted world than bringing out your extroverted part of you. For FE, if you have this is like if you start working more on this, that means you have to go out and you have to deal with more people. You have to now understand what their needs are and meet those needs. You know, you have to like instead of like sitting down and like ruminating all the time, you're now trying to take these thoughts, these rumination thoughts, and you're trying to actually go and change the world and like help people consistently and everything. And people of your type, they tend to like get like drained by that, you know, like, oh, I don't want to meet people's needs. I just want to sit down and think all the time. I don't like I'll go and just socialize like maybe like here and there, but I don't really want to like actually go out and like make, not that they don't want to make a difference, but like they don't want getting in the mud and like actually like helping people like consistently can become tiring for them. Do you relate to that?
In some senses, yeah.
Okay. Could you tell me like how your relationship is with that?
Yeah, like I kind of view it on like the sense of asking. So it's like if anybody were to ever ask me, I needed to meet a need in that sense. Like I always will 110% if I can. So like I guess that was the only part where I was kind of like, but for the most part, yeah, it can be draining though sometimes. Like if I'm doing it frequently, then I feel kind of drained, and I'm like, oh, this is a lot.
Yeah, I feel you. It was funny because you said one of your biggest lessons that you learned was pleasing everyone is not possible.
Oh yeah, that was another thing. I feel like if you had a different kind of feeling function, which INFP said, that wouldn't be your lesson.
Yeah. What made you have that lesson? Did you feel like people's needs were always just on your radar and oh man, like I'm just so much of a people pleaser that like tell me more about that. Like what made that be one of your top lessons?
I guess like it's weird in a sense, but I was literally doing everything to please people. Like I'm talking about like I'm a like perfectionist to the T. So even how like I'm answering you, like when you asked me that question just now, I'm generating ideas. And I'm like, what am I gonna say to this guy? And how am I gonna say it effectively? And like it could be something as small as like I'm cooking in the kitchen and like I'm like thinking about how someone's watching me and I'm like, are they gonna judge me? Am I gonna meet their standards? And like to relate it back to needs, it's like in that sense when people need something, I'm trying so hard to like please them. I'm trying so hard to like look good or have this. I noticed that perception is power. So it's like if I can control their perception of me, then I'm good. And so like that's where my struggle is like I'm still learning that lesson. I haven't fully learned it, but I'm learning that like it's not good to live that way. It's not free.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds a lot like FE. Like, just trying so hard to like please just everybody and everything, and oh man, it's just not everybody's gonna get pleased. And it's stressful. And so sometimes, how would you say that you respond when you're unable to like meet everyone's needs and stuff, and then it kind of like just like burns out?
I guess I haven't really gotten there to the burnout phase, and I do my best.
How have you kept from getting there? I'm gonna get some more.
I don't know if I kept from getting there. I guess being healthy with it, like I will do my best. Like if, like I said, if someone asks me for a favor or anything, I like that's my first response is like to try to say yes. But also being realistic with what I can't do. So it's like if I'm on the way to New York or something like that, and someone's like, "Yo, bro, can I have a ride? What just happened?" It's like I'm not two people. Like I'm on my way to New York, so there's no way I can help that individual. So like my answer would be no. So it's like I'm realistic in that sense. But like other than that, if I really can and I have the time, I do my best to try to help them.
The thing is frozen. I don't know if that's what the person said.
Yep, that's what David just said. That's weird.
Is
I
that
wasn't sure if it was coming up frozen for them.
the individual guy?
Yeah,
He's dope as hell. His art is sick.
Yeah, he's dope. And he's gonna just keep on getting even more dope.
Yeah, he's sick.
He's actually supposedly the same type as you are.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
so,
exactly.
INFJ. Yeah. Well, from what you're saying over here, harmony, actually feeling and all of that, that's cool. I understand that. And usually, your 10-year-old, so you're asking about the 10-year-old and everything. So your 10-year-old would be, hey, thanks, bro. I checked on my iPad too, individuals are frozen. That's really weird how that's happening. I don't know why it's doing that.
But they get here.
Yeah. Oh well, I guess that's pretty much what matters, I suppose. So just to kind of like wrap this up then. So your 10-year-old function is accuracy, and it's called TI.
He's going from strongest to weakest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Compelled to make the sense of the world, accuracy develops logic and congruence of thought. Its ultimate ideal is integrity. The reason why it's called your 10-year-old function is because if we're looking at it, so this is a 4-passenger car. We have the driver, who's your introvert intuition. And then we have your co-pilot, which is extroverted feeling. So these two are pretty much like parents. Then you have the 10-year-old. 10-year-olds are really smart still, but you don't want the 10-year-old to drive your car.
Of course.
Because even though they're smart and they say intelligent things, everything, still not an adult.
But he's not going to be like in the car seat like this guy.
Yeah, exactly. So 10-year-old is still smarter than your 3-year-old, which we'll get there. But so for accuracy, TI, pretty much, I define it, so we already said that like over here, compelled to make sense of the world, accuracy develops logic, and congruence of thought, its ultimate ideal is integrity. For accuracy, it's looking for what makes sense. What makes sense to me. If I can find something that is consistent and logical in my mind, then that means I'm gonna like hold on to it. So earlier, when you were talking about how you're pretty much you were talking about like religion, and I was asking you a lot like, okay, is this something that's like really like attached to like, oh, this is how I feel, or like, is this more attached to like, okay, no, this is just like what makes sense to me? You're looking for what makes sense. You're looking for answers and all of that. But because your accuracy is 10 years old, then your FE still kind of like takes hold. Like, I know that could be fact, but it just can't be. No, because that Buddhist person should not be sent to hell. It's just, I refuse to believe that. There's got to be something else. Just because that makes sense and it makes logical consistency or whatever, doesn't mean that it's right. But then sometimes we fail to realize that just because something may make sense to us and it's logically consistent does not mean that it also means that it's right. And for you, having it as your 10-year-old, you want somebody else to validate that accuracy for you. Once again, I'm like kind of like assuming based off of what you said, so you can let me know like in a bit like if it's wrong or anything.
Yeah.
But it's
I do think it's just maybe it's not wrong at all. Just using a different terminology.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not a validation because as I'm sitting here talking to you, it's like I actually do believe what I believe, so I'm stubborn in it. So it's more like I want to find people like-minded. I think that's the term I'm looking for. Who think like me, who see life like me, not just to like make me feel more secure in it.
Got you.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So is it almost like even if it's not really what it is, just being with people who at least think it as well and believe that same similarity, like that's enough for you?
Yeah, that's enough for me.
Yeah. So that's where FETI come in. So earlier when I was asking you, like, oh, you're a feeler, like head over heart, whatever. Because when you're looking at it, so I just put it like in a car, but your functions would actually look like this. So NI, then FETI, SE. So it's going from strongest to weakest, right? Because and NI, SE always come together, and I'll explain why. And then FE and TI always come together, and I'll explain why. Because you have FE and TI in the middle, you can kind of like pretty much switch between these two like fairly quickly. So you feel like, okay, no, I'm pretty strong with my logical side. And you were saying that a lot throughout the session. Like, my logic is pretty good. Like, I'm looking for more logic and everything. But you just said, like, you know, like, I want a community of people who believe what I believe. So even if it's not 100% right, I have that community, I believe it, and we think alike. We share the same perspectives.
But isn't that what every organization is?
Isn't that what every organization
every
is?
church thinks they're right. Every mosque, they think that their belief is right, right?
That's gonna be an answer that I would love to discuss with you soon. Yeah. I'd say that yes, but the way they do it is different, and I'll explain that. But yeah, the FE in you is like, I'm looking for my tribe, my people, who, just like you said, maybe not really like validate this, but you vibe with them because you agree like with this kind of way of looking at life, and it's like that openness to be able to explore these different perspectives. So a lot of times, this and this, because they're the same attitude, they tend to get along and they kick out the co-pilot. So NI and TI. So sometimes like it's called an NI-TI loop, where it's like, because they're the same attitude of introversion and we don't like to go past the other attitude of extroversion, and or like if me as an extrovert, I might not want to go into introverted side. So because they're both introverts, then they'll kind of like kick FE out because it's like, oh well, we just want to stick in our introverted world. We want to really, just stick in our inner selves, and we don't really want to go out into the world and stuff like that. We don't want to go and deal with people's emotions and everything. We just want to stick here with our logic, all of that. That's the loop. But when you integrate the co-pilot, then now you're able to go and get things done. Now you're able to actually go and make even more sense of the logic that you have, because FE and TI come together, then the more people that you go and you communicate with, then the more you're able to refine your accuracy here, because now you're seeing like, okay, well, what makes consistent and logical sense to other people? What do you guys believe? How does that make sense? And you said that you were inquisitive to other people and everything, but at the same time, you still were kind of like looking for the people who see things like your way. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Does that add up to you? Cool. And by the way, all this stuff I'm gonna go like a lot deeper into it like another time, but I kind of like just was doing this mainly for camera stuff, and I feel like I wanted to keep certain things like private for you.
Of course.
Yeah, but like a lot of like off-camera discussion will like go in, and I'll explain more of like why I believe that this is what you are and everything. But yeah. Lastly, SE. That's your 3-year-old function. So it's known as instinctive, present, and kinesthetic. Sensation works from the gut, lives in the now, and heeds the body's chemical responses to direct attention and build experience. So this is your 3-year-old because you least relate to it. It's pretty much like being really in tune with your body, being very spontaneous, you know, like not really thinking for the deeper meaning behind stuff. It sees things just for what it is, and it just kind of like jumps into it, just gets into action.
I don't know about that.
However, SE always comes with NI. So usually the relationship between NI and SE is like, yo, why are you over analyzing this? Let's just jump in, let's see what happens, and let's improvise. Let's do this. NI is always like, whoa, why are you over simplifying this? Let's take back. Let's try and understand what's really going on, and yada yada yada. Now, if you don't have enough SE, you'll stick in NI all the time, and then you're just gonna keep on looking for more and more and more and more and more meaning, but you're never gonna take action. You're never gonna actually do anything. If you stick with SE and you don't have enough NI, you're gonna keep on doing a whole bunch of like things that are like impulsive, you know, stuff like that, but you're not like spending enough time to actually like see how it's gonna affect the long term. You're not seeing what exactly it means. You're messing more things up. So they need each other in the same way that FE and TI need each other. Because it's a 3-year-old, it's your weakest function, as you know. This becomes your aspiration function, but it also becomes the place where you get into a grip. So usually like when you're in like a very unhealthy state of mind, then this is where you go to, and it can become very indulge-like. This is where, you know, and we don't have to talk about
it's another thing I'm going to talk to you about.
Yeah,
we'll talk about
but
it.
you can get really into like, you know, like drunken behavior, you know, like intoxicating yourself with like alcohol, or just getting like very impulsive, you know, like how you are with things. And then also being like very, very sexually active, or like whatever, because especially since now you're kind of like stuck over here, FE and SE kind of like take that, you know, charge over there. So then it's like, well, FE, I want to connect with people. I want to like, you know, have that emotion or whatever. And SE is like, well, I want to do something and like raunchy and physical and blah, blah. So it's like, well, then FE and SE go off and then they do what they do. And then, yeah. But because it's an aspiration function, you're aiming to kind of like master it in a way. And a lot of times you're doing this through NI. So really good ways where you can cater to the baby, the 3-year-old. A lot of times 3-year-olds can take care of themselves and they only pretty much like cry for attention like when they need something. And I don't mean take care of themselves in like everything, but you know what I mean, like yeah. So you don't really have to pay too much attention to it, but you just have to give it like a few things, like such as you said that you go out for hikes. You like to just, you know, go out and be like a little bit active. You said that your aspiration, like you write music, you like to perform, and I'm guessing also from like there's a lot of stuff that you said, but I'm trying to like keep it concise because we also have to go soon. But with FE harmony, you said that you were interested more in how other people feel and looking at those relationships and everything, even as opposed to like thinking through like how you felt and everything. You were trying to see, how's their emotional experience with that, and then you put that into you got into their perspective with harmony. So NIFE right there, and then you try to like push that out through your SE in your music. And we try and like write this out and like help other people like see this perspective from their perspectives. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you relate to that?
I do.
Awesome. Yeah. And so a lot of times with SE, especially when you're feeling like, like you've been doing too much NI and everything, and you're like very stressed or whatever. A lot of times, people like you, it's good for you to be able to just go out for a walk, just clear your head, get totally away from like everyone, and just allow yourself to like go get a massage. Something that will like soothe you sensually, but not in a harmful way, such as like alcohol or just screwing somebody random, something like that. But like something that'll help you out in that way. And it also keep you from like making something impulsive, because you are at your best self, not when you are improvisational, but when you are here and you're actually thinking through things. You're good at being meticulous. So when you're looking for that deeper meaning and everything, that's great. But when you're in your unhealthy state, then you're not able to do that as much. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right on the nose. Definitely gonna have to discuss that.
Yeah. And then also just another quick thing about T.I., and then like I said, we'll go deeper like another time and everything. But you were talking about detachment. Once again, because F.E. and T.I. are so close, a lot of people like to talk about the INFJ door slam. That's apparently a thing. A lot of times they make anything INFJ sound cool, and now that I'm telling you that you're one, you're probably gonna go look it up, and you're probably gonna get very gassed with a lot of stuff they put out there. Don't let yourself get gassed.
Gassed in what sense?
Yeah, and like a lot of times they glorify your type. Like,
Really?
You're like the god of MBTI.
Yeah, everyone. Yeah. So I'm just warning you right now.
I thought it was like a regular type.
No, you see, it is, but it's glorified oftentimes. And I'm not saying that there's nothing special about them, but just keep in mind, like every type is equally special, just in different ways.
Yeah.
But but I bring that up to say because they're known for something called the INFJ door slam, and it seems like everything that INFJs do, even if it's bad, then it's cool. So and you'll see what I mean when you go looking it up. So the INFJ door slam is pretty much like, oh, I serve, FE, 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 until the point where I just kick you out, and I don't ever talk to you again. I just shut down. And you kind of like alluded to that, like, oh yeah, they'll just kind of know when like I'm.
Stop talking to them.
Yeah, when I stop talking to them, like that's just it. I've just detached myself.
That's why
I
I
don't have
started
time. Yeah, because it's just like FE, FE, FE. Switch to TI real quick. Like, you know what? Bump this. NI's parent move
I
this
thought
again.
it was interesting how you asked them if he gets angry or just detached, and you were just like, oh, just detached. Because I can't really imagine that. Like, I wouldn't consider myself an angry person. I don't get angry, like, hardly ever. But, like, if I'm upset, like, if I feel the need to separate myself from somebody, I don't know. It's just weird that you don't really experience it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I agree.
Yeah, and even for me, like, so I'm an ENFJ, and I'll talk about that like more, but kind of like.
So it's similar, just the E's gone. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually the same people in the car. Only your co-pilot is my driver.
It's like everything.
Yeah, so
goes-
everything switch like that, and
okay.
that makes like a little bit of a difference. But so I relate a lot to like what you were saying, and I was trying to like keep from like biasing you by like, oh yeah, that's me too, and biasing myself even. Like I wanted to like fact check a lot of things, but for me, even though my FE and TR aren't as close to each other, I relate to that a little bit because pretty much like I'm always looking for just good vibes. I don't hold grudges either. Like I'm just like, hey, like I just want to go and associate with like a better aura, stuff like that. And when I finally get to a point, and when you watch my videos and stuff like that, then you'll see it. When I finally get to a point where it's like, you know what? I don't think this person deserves me. What you said was like one of your biggest things, like, imbalance in relationships. You're giving too much, you're giving so much and everything. You know what? I'm just gonna cut this like person off. And for me, it takes a lot longer to get there because it's my 3-year-old. But once it happens, that's it.
Yeah.
So it's almost like an NFJ door slam thing too. But it's just, I guess, like for me, it takes like much longer because FE is my dominant. So I'm more inclined to keep on trying to fix it, as opposed to you, since he's your co-pilot. It's not that you're not trying to fix it, but it's kind of like, I've tried a few times. You got like a few strikes, and after that, like I'm just done. Now it's your turn to come and fix it.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah. So, all that being said, how do you feel about it, honestly?
That was really insightful. Like honestly.
Would you say that that's accurate
It is accurate. I thought what was cooler was like before we did this, you guessed. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And like the fact that your guess was like accurate was like, cool. Yeah, you're really good at explaining this, man. I think you should continue this.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and yeah, we'll have more off-screen conversation and everything because I explained surface level stuff. But like when you start like telling me like even during the profiling session, like I didn't want to like ask like there was a few times where like I wanted to ask certain questions, but then I was like, oh, Cameron and Bethany are here. Oh, Jamila's here. Oh, look at the camera.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there. You know, we could all say judgment-free zone, but in actuality, it's usually, you know, yeah. So I wanted to like, you know, make it like as clear as possible, you know. But like in the future, like we'll talk about some more things, and it'll help further explain a lot of why you are this way and everything. But yeah, do you have any quick questions or anything?
Yeah, I mean, when the camera's on, but yeah, for now, man, you did a great job, bro.
Awesome.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Well, thanks.
Someone was commenting, I couldn't see what it was.
Yeah, a lot of people were actually. But thanks for tuning in, everybody. And sorry that it's frozen. See y'all next time.